This is WRAL News, your #1 source for local news.
We got a big gas explosion. It's knocked down a lot of this building. I'm pretty sure there was some inside the person that I was having trouble getting to evacuate.
Citizens, first responders, line workers recovering from the blast.
This is one of the most dangerous jobs there is.
The building heaved and shook like a giant was shaking it.
He just had glass all in his arms, in his face, bleeding.
This last week, we have intimately learned just how much he fights.
Well, just hours ago, a man was airlifted to Duke from the UNC Burn Center after being injured in that Durham gas explosion. Thanks for joining us today. I'm Catherine Brown.
And I'm Gerald Owens. For the first time, we're hearing from the family of one of the survivors. Jay Rambo is a PSNC employee who was working on the site last week.
WRAL's Ken Smith is live now in Durham after speaking with his family. Ken, what they must be going through right now.
And Catherine and Gerald, what a story of survival. But first, I want to show you this area behind me. This is just outside the Durham School of the Arts that was closed actually for a couple of days as a result of that blast. But right there tonight is where a vigil will be held for the one life lost in this blast. And that's, of course, is Mr. Kong Lee. But we talk about the survivors, and one of them is Jay Rambo. His family describes him as an outdoors guy with a fighting spirit. This is Jay Rambo, a husband, father, beloved family man. When this explosion on North Duke Street happened last Wednesday, Rambo was doing the job he's done for more than 20 years as a first responder locator for PSNC Energy. That means he's among the first on the scene when there's a report of a gas leak.
Since last Wednesday, he has had, obviously, the battle of his lifetime.
Donna Jackson is his sister-in-law. She says his family has been at his side around the clock.
But since this happened on Wednesday, it's almost like time has stood still and everything's in slow motion because everything revolves around his minute-to-minute, hour-to-hour care.
Rambo's family credits the quick work of firefighters and other first responders with quickly getting him to safety. Jackson says Rambo went into cardiac arrest at Duke Hospital because of his extensive injuries, but doctors were able to revive him.
There's over 100 to 150 holes in his chest of debris that flew into him. He has a skull fracture. There's debris in his brain now that will always be there.
Jackson says it's likely Rambo's wife and son will both be out of work in order to care for him. The family has set up a GoFundMe page as the family prepares for an uncertain future.
Every day has been a baby step forward, and we've learned quick that we have to, praise God for every little step we have forward. And obviously there's been a lot of prayers and a lot of good wishes, and we're so thankful for all of them. And we know for the next 6 to 9 months, we're going to have to hold on to those tight.
We're back here live at the blast zone in North Duke Street. And Jackson says that Rambo's son, Craig, actually works in construction, and he was a couple of miles away, heard and felt the explosion. He immediately thought of his dad because of the kind of line of work he's in. He started calling his dad immediately, repeatedly. Of course, he couldn't reach him, called his mom frantically, and of course, a short time later, PSNC notified Mrs. Rambo that her husband was hurt. But Gerald and Catherine, this family is looking at an uncertain future because they're not sure if he'll be paralyzed or if they have to reconfigure the house. They're just not sure, but they're holding on to faith and prayers.
I'm sure they're learning a lot about things they would rather not have any idea about. Ken Smith, live in Durham. Ken, thank you. In the past hour, we've learned new information about the timeline of that explosion, and it raises questions about when the gas line was hit and how quickly it was reported to 911. The city of Durham says a woman called 911 on Wednesday at 9:11 a.m. to report a strong smell of gas. 2 minutes later, 9:13, Durham dispatched a fire engine to investigate. Firefighters circled the area but did not smell gas. At 9:24, the fire truck returned to the station. 13 minutes later, 9:37, the contractor called 911 to report that he had hit a gas line. Then at 10:07 was that explosion. The city of Durham says there is no explanation for the gap between the first report of the gas odor and the time that passed before the contractors called a 911. This is a story, of course, that WRAL will continue to investigate and question, and will bring you updates and answers as we get them.
A Raleigh man is being held on $2 million bond after being arrested for sex crimes involving a child. According to the arrest warrant, Bruce Tyler committed sex offenses with a child under 13 between 2012 and 2013. He's charged with 2 counts of first-degree sex offense with a child. New details about an armed robbery at an AT&T store in Raleigh. Police have arrested Robert Bodie for the crime, which happened on New Bern Avenue yesterday. They're still looking for 3 other people. According to the warrant, Bodie used a stolen gun to rob the store of 7 iPhones worth about $7,000. He's being held on $300,000 bond for several charges, including robbery with a dangerous weapon. And this is a live look at the North Carolina House floor, where lawmakers have just passed an abortion bill in the last 30 minutes. The bill now heads to the governor's desk. The Senate approved the bill last night despite opposition from Democrats. The bill would require a doctor to perform life-saving measures on a baby that survives an abortion. If they don't, they could face a felony charge under this legislation. Now, it's not clear how often babies are actually born in this scenario. Even less clear is how often doctors fail to take action to save a baby's life.
Well, just moments ago, state House lawmakers voted to stop changing clocks in North Carolina. They voted by a wide margin to keep the state on daylight saving time permanently. WRAL Capitol Bureau Chief Laura Leslie live now outside the House chambers to explain. Laura.
Catherine, it's spring forward all year round, right? The bill would ask permission from Congress for the state to permanently adopt daylight saving time. It did pass with wide bipartisan support. Now, the state can't unilaterally decide to set its own time zone. It can only do that if Congress gives the go-ahead on the national level. And several other states have filed similar bills, including some in the Southeast. Backers say the ritual of changing clocks twice a year causes an increase in health problems, car accidents, and mental health issues. They say it would be better to stick to one time all year round. Representative Larry Pittman is an enthusiastic supporter.
I've been saying this for more years than I can count, so I hope we can get it done.
A student in daylight savings time in the middle of winter is going to have to spend about 3.5 hours in the dark before they ever see the light of day. Because of that, I can't support the bill.
That's Representative Ray Russell from Boone County. He says if the state stays on daylight saving time year-round, sunrise in his district on December 21st would be after 8:30 in the morning. Now, some of you may remember back in the 1970s, President Richard Nixon actually did, by executive order, put the whole U.S. on permanent daylight saving time as a way to combat the energy crisis. However, that it was supposed to go for a year. It was repealed in October because of widespread public disapproval of that. So back to you.
Laura, thank you. Well, have you ever backed into a neighbor's car or mailbox, perhaps?
Backed into my own car, but that's a long story. Anyway, a backup camera could keep you from doing it again, even though I had a backup camera in that vehicle. That's also a long story. Coming up, 500 size Monica Liberty explains how you can add one to your older model car.
And $100 million to help restore the Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. We'll show you who is making that generous donation.
Plus, WRAL tracked down a local couple who renewed their vows in the historic cathedral twice before the fire. We'll hear their story at 6 o'clock.
On the social scene tonight, Today's Show host Hoda Kotb brought her colleagues to tears this morning, tears of joy.
It's a girl. It's a girl. Oh,
wow. Yes, Kotb's family is growing. In a telephone call, she told her colleagues she adopted a second baby. Hope Catherine joins 2-year-old sister Haley Joy. She's raising them both with her longtime boyfriend.
How about having your clothing for your children delivered right to your door? Walmart is launching its first subscription box for apparel. They have partnered with Kid Box, which sells clothes for babies, girls, and boys. Buyers can get as many as 6 different boxes a year, handpicked by stylists. The boxes will cost $48. Walmart says that's about half off the suggested retail price.
A French billionaire and his family are doing their part to help rebuild Notre Dame Cathedral in Paris. Francois-Henri Pinault and his wife, Salma Hayek, are donating more than $100 million to repair the cathedral, which was, as we know, of course, heavily damaged by yesterday's fire. Pinault and Hayek got married less than a mile from the cathedral in 2009. Affordable housing options can often be difficult to find for some families, but still ahead, we'll explain some new options coming to Wake County with millions of dollars of new funding. Monica?
Yeah, do you see all these scrapes on this light pole out in front of WRAL? You know what that's from? That's from people who backed out of parking spaces who probably didn't have a backup camera. I'm 5 News Side's Monica LaLiberty. Just ahead, how you can add one to an older car.
You're watching WRAL News.
For safety reasons, backup cameras are now required on all new cars. That law took effect nearly a year ago.
Yeah, but what if you have an older car? Well, 5 on Your Side's Monica LaLiberty joins us now live in Raleigh with your options here. Monica?
You know, from my experience, I think backup cameras can take a little bit of getting used to, but boy, can they make a difference. Just a couple of weeks ago, mine saved me from backing into my daughter's car. So yes, if your vehicle does not have one, an aftermarket kit can give you some added peace of mind.
The biggest benefit of a backup camera, safety. Evidence shows they help avoid accidents that involve backing into an object or worse, a child a driver otherwise would not see. Research shows they're more effective than sensors. So what if your car doesn't have one? You can buy wireless options that plug into your smartphone. Some have a small battery to make them completely self-contained. They cost anywhere from $22 to $100. Just make sure the one you choose is compatible with your phone's operating system. Some dash cam sets have a screen that straps over your existing rear view mirror and adds a video display from the rear camera. They cost $40 to $200. If your car has an infotainment screen but lacks a rear view camera, you can buy an aftermarket retrofit for $50 to $600. Know, though, hardwiring a rear-view camera takes some DIY skills and can be time-consuming. So CR suggests if you have any doubts, consider professional installation.
And that hardwire installation costs typically range from like $100 to $130. An upgrade well worth what you get, you know, beyond the life-saving potential of these cameras. They're great for getting in and out of parking spaces to make sure you're completely lined up. And I actually use mine to make sure I am perfectly parked in my garage because I have a reference line on my garage floor that I can see just at the edge of my camera. So there you go. Back to you guys.
You got it all. Monica, thank you.
Now, more families are able to return home while crews work to rebuild after Hurricane Florence. The governor has extended the STEP program with funding from FEMA. The program provides partial repairs at no cost to homeowners so they can stay in their home while long-term repairs are being done. Now, 202 additional homes will be fixed in 12 North Carolina counties, including Cumberland County.
Mike, we've been talking about what a beautiful day is outside. A little colder than it looks, though.
Yeah, a little bit of a chill. We had 69 for our high. We were anticipating 72, so we fell a little bit short. Tomorrow we're forecasting 80, so we can redeem ourselves tomorrow. It will have a warmer feel for your Wednesday and even more so for your Thursday. And the humidity levels rise. I think it's going to feel very summerish for Thursday and Friday. Now let's take a look at our WRAL Weather Watchers picture from Denise Ruffin. She sends in great pictures from down east. This is from the Bogue Inlet Fishing Pier. She's standing on the pier and looking over and watching this guy surf. What a beautiful sunset in the background and the surf, and oh, what a beautiful day. An enjoyable day. She took this actually last night. If you'd like to be a WRAL Weather Watcher, you can post your picture on our WRAL Weather Facebook page, and we will proudly show them off. We always do. So this half hour in weather, we're going to talk about all the rain we've had over the past 7 days and how much more is to come with that system that's coming in on Friday. So we have had quite a bit of rain over the past 7 days, and these are the Doppler radar rainfall estimates. And we put some numbers on the map, and you can see many locations had at least 1 inch to 2. Some locations had up to 4.5 to almost 5 inches of rain. So the bottom line is the ground is saturated. We don't need any rain for a while. We've had so much rain since 2018. Now it's carrying over to 2019. By Friday, we could see another big dose of rain, and we'll explain coming up. So the rainfall added RDU so far for the year, actually for the year, we've had 15.68. That's 3.22 above where we should be for this time of year. For the month, 4.82. That's 3.2 higher than we should have for the month. And signs are we're in for a big downpour for Friday. So the big weather headline is it's a Friday soaking. Heavy rain is likely, and with a saturated ground, the end result would be flash flooding. And we had a flash flood warning on Sunday night with the heavy rain that came on by for parts of Wake County. We had other flood advisories. We have that potential again on Friday. So Friday will be an active day. There's no rain tomorrow, no rain on Thursday, about an 80% chance for showers and storms. They're going to be in the afternoon, early evening. They have the potential to be severe, and a 40% chance of rain on Saturday. Easter Sunday looks great, and Monday after that looks fine as well. And the reason why we've got so much moisture coming in, the orientation of the jet stream, we have a southwest flow aloft directly coming actually from the Caribbean. We're going to have a lot of moisture. In fact, rainfall rates with the thunderstorms on Friday could average 2 to 3 inches per hour. Now, if they were just sitting and training over the same spots, you could see that much within an hour, but they'll be progressive. So total-wise, I think we'll end up with about an inch to an inch and a half to maybe 2 inches in some locations. So here's our rainfall potential starting Thursday evening. We have no rain on our forecast Thursday night. Friday morning, we have the system starting to come in. So by 8 a.m., some locations will be looking at some light rain. We get up to lunchtime, we see some light rain in the area. The thinking is, with the cloud cover and a chance for rain in the morning, the atmosphere may not have the potential to be quite so unstable. So if we have an overcast all day, that's certainly great news. By 2 o'clock, not great rainfall yet. The thunderstorms are on the way. They pass through late in the afternoon and early evening. So by 8 o'clock, we're seeing the total rains from the thunderstorms that have passed, and still a potential for some light rain during the day on Saturday. So the bottom line is we could be looking at a big soaking. Now, taking a look at the storm energy, storm fuel, so to speak, we look at the scale, low and to extreme. So Friday morning, there's not a whole lot of storm energy out there. And at the height of the system, by lunchtime, we see a little less than moderate energy for these storms. So the good news is the instability is not high or extreme for the front that's coming on in to produce the severe thunderstorms, but there's a lot of shear in the atmosphere. So there's a low storm energy, but high shear environment, and that bodes well still for the potential for strong storms. By 5 o'clock, that instability moves out. So this tells us that the threat for any severe weather should be gone by 8 o'clock on Friday evening. So let's check out your 7-day forecast tomorrow and also on Thursday. We do see our temperatures in the low 80s. Friday's that threat for severe weather. Saturday, the tail end of the system's with us with some rain, 66. And Easter Sunday, Gerald, looks fantastic. Our high about 72. Gerald?
Mike, it's Sloan in the Live Center. We want to give you an update on that lockdown that was happening at Columbine High School and several other schools in that area. The NBC affiliate in Denver released the images of this woman. They are reporting that some threatening comments that this 18-year-old woman made on her Facebook page is the reason why the FBI recommended the lockdown. The sheriff's office released her photo saying she was considered armed and extremely dangerous. The lockdown has been lifted. This comes just a few days before the 20th anniversary of the Columbine shooting. Back to you.
All right, thank you, Sloan. Photograph thousands of churches traveling through 1,000 North Carolina towns.
And only one flat tire, by the way, one flat tire.
We'll show you one church in the state with the most interesting name and the ones with the richest history.
So many of you have a connection to the Notre Dame Cathedral, and a couple in Cary has a connection as strong as their marriage.
Well, I was devastated because it all hit. It had been so much in my heart and soul.
And new tonight at 6, they share their precious memories made in that iconic cathedral and their hopes for its future. Plus, an unimaginable loss for a woman in Durham.
Every day is a difficult time. Every seconds are, difficult for me and my family without my husband's being here.
Her message for the suspects accused of killing her husband.
It's almost Easter, and our Tar Heel travelers at church.
Tonight we find him in Northeast Raleigh.
The books contain about 330. Those were the ones who made the cut.
He photographed 4,000 churches across the state.
And only one flat tire, by the way, one flat tire.
He traveled to 1,000 towns.
I hit the road.
His goal was to photograph every North Carolina church older than 1900.
The older, the better. My favorite church in here is Thyatira.
Near Salisbury, 1753. Thyatira.
This is probably the most interesting name. This is Red House Presbyterian Church.
Caswell County, 1781.
And the oldest standing building in the state is 1736 in Bath.
Oregon Lutheran Church in Rowan County.
The reason they called it Oregon Church, it was the first church to purchase an organ for worship.
Christ Episcopal Church in New Bern.
Anyway, they have a silver communion service set that was given to them by the King of England.
And they use that for communion?
Oh, yeah, yeah.
David is pastor of Trinity Presbyterian Church in Raleigh.
But we were organized in 1967. One day he said, do you mind if I go along?
David's dad.
We've always been close, but that was a really great gift.
His dad died of cancer.
Do you think the church trips gave him a sense of peace?
Oh, I think so. He loved it.
Did you meet many people on your travels?
Oh, it's amazing, amazing.
He met people mowing the grass. The lawnmower man at Bethesda Presbyterian in Aberdeen.
And so I said, these pews are beautiful. He said, well, my great-great-grandfather cut trees on his farm down the road and had them milled and gave them to the church. It's just amazing. All these backstories about, if I ever do a memoir, it's going to be called, the title is going to be called Connecting the Dots. I discovered I had a great-great-grandfather who was a Methodist minister. No one ever told me that. No one ever told me that.
His church journey opened a window.
Big windows because there wasn't electricity at the time.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
Potbelly stoves.
You have obstructive view seats in the sanctuary.
Longstreet Presbyterian, 1756.
The land on which it sat was purchased by the federal government for Fort Bragg.
Sacred Heart, Raleigh. Founded 1879.
When it was built, it was the smallest Roman Catholic cathedral in America. So these are sacred spaces and sacred spots.
The roots run so deep.
They do, they run very deep, and they're full of memories. Any place full of family and community memories is a lot more than a building.
The North Carolina National Guard is helping patrol Guantanamo Bay's detention center. Hear from a local soldier on patrol in Cuba. Our news at 6 starts now.